Hi guys, it's Anne here, and today's video is going to be my January beauty review video. This is a new kind of video for me, so hopefully this goes okay, and I will continue to do this monthly. To be honest, I'm already kind of regretting committing myself to doing these videos, and I haven't even done the first one yet. I was planning on doing this type of video in 2019 at the end of the year. I was going to do a 2019 beauty and review video, and then I realized that there was a lot of stuff and it was just going to take a lot of time to try and figure out what releases came out and trying to go through them. So I thought, okay, I'll start this for 2020 and I'll do like a monthly review, so then hopefully by the end of the year I have sort of monthly recap videos that I could then use as an annual review video. Honestly, this video was somewhat inspired as well by what are YouTubers trying to shill for the month of like X? So what were they kind of pushing in the month of January to see at the end of the year? Are these products that have actually stood the test of time, or are they products that, you know, were hot for 1 minute and then we've all just forgotten about? So for this month's video, I kind of have a little bit of a preamble just to explain all of this. And I'll be honest, I was going to be really good, and I started off really good to keep track of what was going on. That kind of fell by the wayside. And then basically one thing happens and then another thing happens and I kind of forget about this video, and then it's the end of January and I'm like, ah crap, I was gonna do this video. So I feel like this weekend I was kind of like cramming for a final. So I apologize if this video is a bit like a C+ paper, because that's what I feel like right now. I'm just putting something down on the paper and I'm handing it in and I'm hoping it's okay. Hopefully for the next month it will be better. So a couple of things I've learned in starting this process. The number one thing is, holy crap, there's a lot of releases. I have about 100 items in my list, over 100 items, and that's even like an edited list. There's some things that I just didn't put on my list. And to be honest, it's overwhelming. This is why I didn't do the 2019 recap, because it was overwhelming to try and do a year. Right now I'm just trying to do a month and I'm finding it overwhelming. It's kind of crazy. It's also really hard to know what to include in a month. Release dates are kind of weird. Sometimes things are announced in a month, but they're not released till later, or they're like pre-released for like pre-orders, but not actually released. So, and sometimes, particularly with drugstore stuff, things are released like in one country at a certain date, but then in another country or like the rest of the world on a different date. And while most of the higher end products or like mid to high range have dates around them, drugstore stuff just seems to be like available now. So I try my best. These things in my mind are January from what I could figure out, but I could be wrong, so don't at me if I was wrong. I also had a hard time figuring out where to draw the line. I mostly focused on makeup, but if a skincare item was noteworthy in my opinion, I'm including it. There's just so many brands and so many releases. What I basically have tried to do is things that interest me. So, I mean, there are things that did interest me, but for whatever reason, I was just like, you know what, I got too much on here. I don't even want to delve into what that was. Seemed interesting, but no, not enough to like catch my attention and make it to the list. I'm also trying to mostly focus on like new items, not something that's like a shade extension of an existing range. Although that still kind of falls into some of the things that I've looked at, just because it's really hard to like be really, you know, black and white with it all. So again, sorry for the long intro. My future videos won't have that, but I just want to explain where I was going with this. So what I want to do for the video is, really in the video, I'm just going to talk about a handful. I have 15 items here. So I guess that's a handful and a half of items that I wanted to talk about, but I do have a list of over 100 items, so I'll put that list over on my website if you do want to see other things that were released in January, if you're interested in seeing that. And again, all this content hopefully I'll be able to use at the end of the year to kind of do a review of what was released in the year of 2020. So I think the first item that feels obvious to talk about is the Tati Beautiful Blendiful. So these were like the two little triangle sponges that she released. And I did watch the video, the release video. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be a palette. I thought she was going to do a palette as well. She's basically advertised these as like you can apply anything with them. So like any cream product, any powder product, you know, eyes, face, cheeks, lips, like everything can be used. It's kind of almost somewhat infomercial-y when it's that much. But anyway, I haven't obviously tried them. I've seen a few videos. people seem to like them. I mean, it's nothing new. It's maybe, you know, a new style, like a new material, but beauty puffs have been around for a long time in various forms and shapes, so it's nothing new. And Beauty Blender just released like a very similar item last year. It was in that, I have it, it's in the kit, this like a Sephora's Favorites kit. So like the product itself is not new. The thing I'll say though for sure is, from what I can tell with Tati, she's very much into quality and she's very detail oriented. So I would have confidence that anything she puts out is going to be quality. It's going to be good. Whether or not it's like necessary or useful. And I don't think it's going to be like the next Beauty Blender. Like, it seems like it's interesting, but I don't think people are going to all of a sudden convert and just use the Blendiful like every day. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Kathleen Lights Briogeo collab. It was an essential oils kit, and there's 3 oils in there. There's a lavender bergamot, a rose and clove, and a sandalwood and cedar. In Canada, it retails for $50, so it's pretty pricey. I'm not totally into the essential oils thing. We have an entire store in Canada. I don't know if it's in the States. It's called Sage. It's S-A-J-E. I think you pronounce it Sage. And I mean, the whole store is all about like essential oils and aromatherapy. I do buy the one product, their bath salts. I've bought their bath salts. I've bought some stuff for gifts. I don't think I've bought anything else for myself, but it is all based on like essential oils. So they have stuff for like energizing and calming and when you're sick. I bought the thing for when you're sick kit for my one brother because he gets sick all the time. So they're really, really nice products. I know they definitely, I think, do help. I mean, there's definitely a sensory connection, and I think it's very on brand for Kathleen. Like, she's one of those people that's always about scents when she talks in her videos. So I think it's a smart little collab for them. Whether I see this going anywhere, the reviews on Sephora Canada are about 3 out of 5 stars. It looks like a 3.1 kind of thing. This is not something I'm going to buy. It's not something I'm really interested in. You can also get essential oils at like Winners or Marshalls for like pretty darn cheap if you want. And also these scents don't really like float my boat at all. Okay, I want to touch on Lunar New Year. Lunar New Year, I think brands just totally capitalized on this year. It seems like every brand and their brother put something together. There was like Hourglass and Becca and Makeup Forever and Charlotte Tilbury. Like, there were so many. Fenty, okay, in my opinion, Fenty was the worst offender because they put together 2 existing products, and the sort of Lunar New Year collectible part was the box. Like, the box is something you throw out. Well, I sometimes keep boxes because I'm guilty for that, but like, really, you don't want to keep the boxes. So I don't know. If it was the year, like, so it's the year of the rat. If it was the year of the monkey, which is my year, monkey, I may or may not have been interested. Foster cat. But to be honest, for most of the part, none of them were really interesting to me. The one thing I did think was super cute was the Chikoto brush. I don't know if it was, I think that's how you pronounce the brand. I don't know if it was like a new brush or just like a limited edition handle, but the handle was super cute. Also, the Becca highlighter was kind of cute. I liked the little imprint that they did. And I think Estee Lauder had one as well that was a highlighter, and it was really pretty and cute. I mean, I don't blame brands for capitalizing on it. It's a smart marketing move, but there's sometimes where it's like, you know, you're taking us too far. Like, it's a little too much. Like, the Fenty was a little too far. Even the Charlotte Tilbury, it's like, really, the jar has a red cap. Like, ooh, like, not very exciting in my opinion. So speaking of Fenty, sort of dogging on them on that, but on the other side, Fenty's had a lot of releases lately. So they had those little mini palettes. Those were actually in December. But in January, they have the fly pencil, the mascara, and the setting spray. And to be honest, all of these interest me. Like, there's something about Fenty that, like, I want to try all their products. And I'm particularly interested in the fly pencil. I'm so curious to know if they're good. To be honest, I can't recall if anybody's reviewed them yet or not. But yeah, that's definitely something that I'm very interested in. So switching over to a drugstore brand, Maybelline. Maybelline seems to have had a number of items this year. First of all, they have the palette, the Nudes of New York, which I've seen pop up in a lot of people's videos. And a lot of people have said that it's actually really good quality. So that's cool that there's a good drugstore neutral palette that's of good quality. I'm not in the market just yet to buy a nude palette, but if I was in the market to buy a new palette, I think I would buy that. They also re-released their Dream Radiant foundation, or it's like a reformulation, and it's called the Dream Radiant Liquid Foundation. It's a reformulation of the Dream Satin Liquid. So I don't know a whole lot about this. I don't know if anybody's reviewed it yet, but it looks interesting. And they also have a new blush product called the Cheek Heat Gel Cream Blush, which I think Emily Noel's reviewed and said was good, but can't remember. So Maybelline's had a few new releases for sure that seem to be positive. Anastasia. So Anastasia Beverly Hills have had 2 palettes this month. They released their mini volume 3, which some people seem to really like the color story on this. I don't really care for it at all. It doesn't really, it's greens and reds, which are like neither of my wheelhouse, so I wouldn't be interested in that. And then there's the Amerzy palette. So Amerzy was the one, their friend that did the highlighter, and now they've done a palette. It looks okay. There's nothing about it that really like looks interesting. I haven't even seen any reviews on it yet, so I don't know if it's any good, but oh my god, please stop honking. The color story just doesn't really do anything for me. So a really interesting collab is Midas Cosmetics with Smokey Glow. They did a little collab of a palette, a highlighter duo, and then a trio lip gloss. This was one I wasn't sure if I should include in January or February because there was pre-orders in January, but I think it officially releases in February. I'm not sure, but anyway, looks like a really good collab. It sold out, which I think is really cool. Smokey Glow is not a huge YouTuber. She has like around 140,000 subscribers. I mean, not huge, but obviously way bigger than me, but not like huge for doing a collab, and for it to like sell out, I think it's pretty cool. I think that shows that you don't need to be a big YouTuber to have like a good solid base and to have a good collab and a good product. So yeah, that one seems really interesting. I like the palette. I like the colors in the palette. It's definitely something that I would have been interested in. It's currently sold out right now. I don't know if it's going to come back. I don't know what's going on with it. Okay, next up is Colourpop. Oh my god. Colourpop, I feel sorry for anybody that like does releases for Colourpop. I think Shay, Makeup by Shay, I think is her name, does like all the Colourpop like shadow swatches and stuff. They just release so much all the time. So what I'm certain that they've released in January was the Mint collection. So there was like a palette, there was I think 2 or 3 Super Shock shadows, might have been it. And then they had 2 collections, the Blush Crush and the Nude Mood collections, which again both had palettes, highlighters, and then just a tint lip balms. Again, I'm not sure if the shades in all of these are actually new or they take like existing stuff. Like, I'm never 100% sure with Colourpop. I also feel like the Blush Crush and the Nude Mood were definitely like capitalizing on the Going Coconuts, like the neutrals. I think they just tried to like make a volume 2 and volume 3 of the same kind of thing, which is, I'm not mad. I kind of like both of them. To be honest, the Blush Crush was definitely a like set that I was like, ooh, I do like that. It's really pretty. So Bite Beauty has had a number of launches this month because they're now phasing out all their existing products. So if you're like me and you got one of their lipsticks back in the fall because they were selling everything off because they wanted to switch everything to vegan, they're now, everything is vegan apparently. So they've had a number of new releases. The one that's really like seems to have made the YouTube is the Changemaker Supercharged Micellar Foundation, which I don't really understand why it's micellar, because micellar is to take off your makeup, but whatever. There's 32 shades of this. It's supposed to be a mimic skin texture for natural flawless finish, buildable medium coverage. I think it's interesting. I think I've seen a few people talk about it and say they like it. I can't remember though, but I'm pretty sure it's been positive. I'm actually kind of intrigued by the primer. There is a Changemaker Skin Optimizing Primer, and it's for normal to oily skin. I'm curious about that. And then they also have a pressed powder as part of the line. And then they also released 20 of their matte lip crayons, like 20 shades, and then 2 shades of their agave lip mask, and then their agave lip balm and lip scrub. So yeah, they've been releasing a number of products on their website. So if you're interested in your vegan and you're interested in vegan products, like They seem to be positive. Like all the reviews right now are really, really positive. I hope it's not fake like Sunday Riley. So speaking of foundations, 2 more foundations to talk about. There is the Wet n Wild foundation, which I've seen a few people talk about on YouTube. Again, I can't remember off the top of my head if people liked it. It was a dewy version of the Photo Focus. I've never tried the Photo Focus. It kind of scared me. People are like, it smells like paint. It's like, oh, that doesn't sound appealing. It was also really high coverage, and I'm not really into super high coverage. So to be honest, I'm not sure what the dewy foundation is like. I haven't actually watched anyone's review. I've just seen people are reviewing it, so it definitely seemed to be like a hot topic. The other one that's come up, and I'm not sure if I've seen anybody review it, but I've seen pictures, is the Milani Scream Queen foundation. The pictures, whoever did their marketing really needs to go back to school. I can't tell the difference. I can't tell which side of the face actually has the foundation and which side doesn't. Which, I mean, you know, it's all fair when it's light coverage, but you could still see a difference. So the next item I want to talk about is the Hourglass Concealer. This is the Vanish Airbrush Concealer. So they had the Vanish foundation, then the Liquid Vanish foundation, and now this is the concealer. I know the stick foundation was really well reviewed. The liquid one, not so much, but there's a handful of people that seem to really like that one. The concealer I'm pretty interested in. Again, I can't recall anybody that's actually used it off the top of my head. Told you this was like a C+ paper. Really sorry, but it does look really good. It does say that it's a full coverage waterproof, so I don't know for me if it's going to be something like the IT Cosmetics. It's just too much. But perhaps, I don't know, again, it might be, the shade range looks pretty decent. Not enough dark shades though. I definitely feel like they need to maybe balance that out a little bit more. But for a concealer, that looks like there's a good number of shades. So speaking of concealer, e.l.f. e.l.f. has also had a lot of releases in January. They had their little bite-sized palettes that are like 4 shadows. I think they're like $3 US or something. Those look really good. I saw Andrea Italiano talk about those, and she really liked them. There's a few in there that, yeah, I definitely would pick up potentially, because I'm a huge fan of like small palettes. That's sort of my thing. I've now learned that small palettes are where I'm at. So, and they're like totally up my alley in terms of price range. They also released the Hydrating Camo Concealer, and I've seen both Tara Babies and Emily Noel talk about that, and both kind of saying that they kind of prefer the hydrating one, maybe a little bit more than the regular one, I think. And they've also released a whole bunch of new things in their Putty primers range. So I haven't tried their actual original Putty primer. I have the Tatcha primer that's apparently the dupe, and I don't really care for it. It's okay. But these new Putty primers, there's like a illuminizing one, I think, and a couple others, and they also have like an eye primer. So yeah, they've had a lot of releases that seem to be pretty good. e.l.f. is one of those like total hit, total miss type brands, but looks like January was a good month for them. So something I haven't seen talked about a whole lot, but I did see Tara Babies mention it, and Beauty News mention it, and it's the Act 4 collab with Estee Lauder's granddaughter with Estee Lauder, and I think it looks really pretty. I really like the packaging. I really like the colors. Like, it's totally up my alley. It's totally my kind of collection. It's nothing revolutionary, like the marbled finishing is nothing new, but the highlighter looks really pretty. I don't know if I would see being able to use that as an actual highlighter. It looks a little dark. And again, the eyeshadows look really pretty. Not too sure about the eyeshadows together, like as a complete look, but they all look very nice and soft and muted. Like, you could probably use like each of the lighter shades with the dark shades, so like do like a pink and gray look or like a purple and gray look. Could be really pretty. But yeah, it's just really pretty. I like it. It's too pricey for me probably to buy, but it looks really pretty. So another product that looks really cool and interesting is the Farsali Liquid Powder Primer. So I saw Andrea Italiano review this, and she actually said it was almost too mattifying, which I find really interesting. I feel like 20-year-old me, like I used to have really, really oily skin. Like, within 2 to 3 hours, it was literally like an oil slick. Like, foundation never stayed on my face. I feel like for me, in that age, I would have loved this product. So I would really be interested to see if somebody's really oily, try that product out and see what they think, because it sounds really, really interesting. I have normal to dry skin right now, so I don't think I would really need it, but potentially in the summertime. Like, I can get pretty oily in the summertime. And then the last product I want to talk about is the Beauty Blender Wave Shade Shifter Makeup Sponge. Talk about money grab. I mean, yeah, it's interesting, and all the beauty blenders, like there's different colors. I have right now the sapphire one, the blue one, and I have a pink one, and they do feel different. It's really interesting how the different colors actually feel different. So I'm sure this one also feels a little bit different, but the fact that it just changes color, it's like, yeah, so what? I don't know, whatever. It's interesting, and you know, potentially, I'm pretty sure it's the same price as a regular beauty blender. So if you were in the market to be buying a new beauty blender, it's probably just worth like trying this one because it's fun, but it's not necessary. So for the month of January, what I really noticed was a ton of eyeshadow palettes. There are so many eyeshadow palettes, and like I said, I only have a handful. I have around 20 on my list, and that's still only like a segment of what was released in January. It's somewhat overwhelming to see how much eyeshadow is actually released in a month by brands. There also seem to be a lot of foundations released in January. I don't know if it's going to be like that every month going forward, but I felt like there was a lot of foundations released in January. So we'll see if future months compare in terms of foundation releases. So that was just my short list of sort of notable makeup items, or things that either seem to really stand out to me or things that I was interested in. As I said, there's so much more in the month of January. So we'll see, you know, at the end of the year, I might even do a mid-year recap to see, you know, what was happening at the beginning of the year that seemed to be popular, that either is still popular or has definitely fallen by the wayside. If you like this style of video and you think I should do this every month, give this video a little thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my tiny little channel here in Toronto, Canada. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.